So welcome to today's study talk on Study Show. So now we're going to discuss a very important topic in the world of learning, and it is known as retrieval practice. Now, retrieval practice is as opposed to what we call reviewing materials or rereading materials. Now, what is retrieval practice? Retrieval practice is simply the act of recalling something from memory without looking at your book or other study material. That is simply retrieval practice. Now, imagine your brain like a muscle. The more you practice, the more you carry weight, the more your muscles or your biceps are being strengthened. Now, the more you recall something from memory or retrieve something from memory, what happens is that you are strengthening your neural pathways, making it very easy for you to recall that information from in the future again. So how do we practice this retrieval method or retrieval practice? Now, one of the most effective way of doing that is use of flashcards. Now, flashcards are simply kind of cards whereby you have your definitions on one side and you have the theme you want to define on the other side. So what happens is that you look at the theme, let's say you look at osmosis, and then you define osmosis, and then you look for the definition. If you got it correctly, that's after you studied. That's a very way of engaging your mind into active learning or active retrieval. The second one actually we're going to talk here is your spaced repetition. Spaced repetition. That's you are reviewing materials at weeks intervals. You look at studying material today, and then maybe after 2 days you try it if you know if you can remember it. After 2 days, then you give yourself probably a week. Now, this is it here. The more the days are longer, the more it is very easy for you to consolidate the information, because each time you recall something from memory, each time you recall something from memory correctly, the more it is easy for you to recall it more better the next time. So when you practice spaced repetition, giving yourself time for that memory to go back or stay inside your brain, then when you try to recall it again, that effort we are using in recalling it is actually very good in consolidating that information. Another practice method we use is self-testing. Now, what is self-testing? You're simply giving yourself exams to write by yourself. Now, that is what you do in your normal exams, right? You are recalling from memory. So once you study, do that often after learning. In an exam day, it's just going to be a walkover for you, because that's what you'll be doing all along. And then we have concept map. Is actually very effective. Try to use a kind of drawing to link out what you've been studying. It's a kind of using your biro. Just you can link this, trying to do certain things that helps you to remember what you've read, and then teaching others, which is one of the most effective way of learning. Teaching others what you know. Now, the moment you are teaching someone, you notice that there's something I'm missing out here. That is what you now need to go and re-study back in your private times after practicing that method. It's very simple as that. Now, how is this effective? Now, what makes it more effective is number one, active recall. Now, reading should be, or learning should be active, not passive. Passive learning does not produce any effort at all. It's just like staring at a dog nail. An interesting stuff to do, but does not give you any weight. So active recall is a very important key factor in learning. You are trying to recall from memory. You are trying to make your mind active in that information, and it helps information to retain more faster and more longer. And number two, identify gap. When you can't recall something properly, it means that you don't know that well enough. So by the time you struggle in identifying that information, try and go and study again, and then after studying, try to practice that retrieval method. It helps you identify gaps in what you are not getting very properly. And the third one here is it reduces cramming. Cramming does not give you long-term glue effects in learning. So you don't have to cram, because in practicing retrieval, you are learning patiently, step by step, until that information is consolidated in your memory. So it reduces cramming, which does not in any way help your learning process at all. And then lastly, it improves long-term retention. It improves long-term retention in the sense that you can keep information for many years, 20 years, 35 years. Now, that length or duration of your retention is hinged on that ability to or the effectiveness of your retrieval practice, which I'll do a new video in subsequent times and explaining different kind of testing methods and how effective they are in your learning process. Thank you and see you next time.